It's about that time again. What is up, guys? If you are watching this, that means you got another day. Another day in Hollywood, unfortunately, costs a lot of money. And that's what we're gonna talk about today. A lot of people ask me how much I make, how much it costs to live in LA, how much to charge for photo shoots, how much the car costs, all these different things. And I'm gonna literally spill out everything for you guys, from credit card balances to bank accounts, to investments, to rent, all of it. So that way, if you ever wanna move to LA and do something here, you have an idea of how much it costs, at least for me. DM Slider just got wrapped in Salt Lake City last week, and then we raced BURLACHER and STRADMAN out in the snow.
Just go! Go! What are you doing? Go, go, go!
And now we are in Hollywood, California, where I live. So before we go into any of the specifics, I want to make sure that you guys know I am not a financial advisor. I'm not a tax lawyer. I'm not an advisor for your investments. I don't have any kind of legal credentials or anything that makes me qualified to tell you guys what to do with your money. What I'm going to do in this video is tell you what I'm doing with my money, and you can use that to help you decide for yourself what you want to do with yours. I had taken a bunch of questions from you guys on Instagram, and I have them all here, and I'm going to make it interesting for you because I don't know anybody else out there that is spilling out all of their financials like this. And just so you know, I am on minimum wage and I don't have a lot of money, so I think that makes me relatable. So we're going to talk about where the money is going, my side hustles, my day job, the transition from clocking in to a tax firm to hopefully full-time with YouTube later this year. Big question, what is my day job and how much does that pay? My day job is with tax resolution firm. I never thought I'd be working in finance. I didn't even have a degree in finance, but I was in the exotic car community and I met a guy that owns a company who offered me a job and said that, you know, if I really worked hard for a certain amount of months that I would be making a lot of money. I have not gotten to that point yet. I might even leave that job before that time comes because the YouTube thing seems to be working. But at least for right now, I'm making minimum wage, and I've been on minimum wage since May of last year, and it is January 2020. Before that, I was making about $19, $20 an hour at a regular job, or after I left the Air Force. So I haven't been making any more than like 40 or 50,000. I think my last job paid 40 something thousand annually, but I quit that job after 6 months, so I didn't even stay with it a full year. And then the job I'm at now, I've been at for 10 months now, making minimum wage the entire time. Now, minimum wage in California is like $14 and some change, I believe, which sounds like a lot to some of you that live in other states, but let me tell you, the cost of living in Hollywood and LA in general is so freaking high. Minimum wage being $14 is not enough. Like, you have to have a side hustle. You have to do something else. If you want to do anything like, you know, buy a Mustang. If you just want to kind of get by, then yeah, I guess you could survive off minimum wage if you find a place with low rent. But outside of that, minimum wage makes life pretty difficult. Plus commissions. So my paychecks are typically between $900 and $1,400 a month, or sorry, per paycheck. So $2,800, somewhere between $2,000 and $2,800 per month. My side hustle has actually been doing really well lately. So I do paid photo shoots and video shoots. I have a retainer client and then I have one-off clients. So my retainer client is O'Gara. Okay, so if I turn it around, I can still shoot. Speaking of cost of living, parking tickets are a thing in LA. And that guy just said if I don't move my car, I'm gonna get a ticket. He's nicer than most parking guys because I've gotten parking tickets before just backing my car out of the driveway to make room for another car, and it literally, maybe 20 seconds after I left the car, they wrote me a ticket for 80 bucks. So go ahead and build into your budget parking tickets because it's a rite of passage in LA. Yeah, so I think I've gotten 2 parking tickets since I've moved to LA. One of them, like I said, was me literally backing one car out of the driveway to make room to get the other one out, and when I ran back to get the first or the second car, I got a parking ticket. And the other one was when I was doing Postmates deliveries. I literally was waiting outside someone's house with the hazards on my car. I was parked illegally, but I didn't have a pass for the neighborhood. Parking guy just pulled up right behind me, ran my plates and started to write a ticket, and I got out of my car. I was like, what are you doing? I'm delivering food for Postmates. He's like, I don't care, you don't have a permit for the street. I was like, duh, because I'm delivering food. still gave me a ticket, and that was the first and last day that I ever worked for Postmates. Okay, side hustles is what I was talking about. My retainer client is O'Gara. They pay me $40 per car that I shoot, and I can shoot as many cars as I can. I typically go to O'Gara. I have to go during the week, so I do a day job from 6:30 in the morning until 2:30 in the afternoon, and then I immediately go to O'Gara. I can usually start shooting by 3, and I typically get in anywhere from 4 to 8 cars, depending on how much daylight there is, and I have to edit 6 to 8 photos per car. And that's a nice little paycheck to depend on top of my regular day job. I usually have to turn around those photos quickly, so that means that I'm waking up at 4:45, I'm getting to my day job at 6:30, I work till 2:30, I immediately start shooting at 3, I finish shooting with O'Gara at 7, then I drive home, I get home around 8:30 because it's a far drive from Westlake to Hollywood in traffic, and then I start editing photos. I usually finish around like 11:30, I'll finish like a couple cars, then I wake up for work like a couple hours later, and then I use my lunch break on the next day to finish off those edits. So it is a grind to get that stuff in, and on top of that, O'Gara occasionally sends me banners and graphics to edit as well. I charge $50 a graphic to edit, and basically I take the photos that I have already shot and I incorporate all the information and disclaimers and everything they want on the graphic for them to run their specials with. So that's a retainer client. So my one-off photography gigs, I have all the packages listed on my website. The prices from those range from like 300-ish to 500-ish, depending on how many finished edited photos the client wants. I found that this system works for me. There are different photographers that charge hourly or day rates and all these other ways. I like the packages because then nobody's pressed for time. If I have to spend a little more time on the shoot to get the shots I want, they don't feel like they're paying for it. And I make those packages and their fees public. Again, call them fees, not prices, because you're providing a service, not a good. So make sure that you quote people fees for your services if you're doing a side hustle. I make them public because when I send someone my website and they pick a package, they know that that's the standard that I'm charging everyone. They don't feel like they're being gypped or that I made up the fee, almost said price. So I found that it helped me a lot to have that public. People tend to argue on the fee less when it's public like that, or try to barter with me, which I hate doing. In a previous video, which I'll put the link in the description, how to slide in anyone's DMs, I talk about negotiating with clients and deciding when to shoot for free and when not to. Fees that I have on my website are pretty much my minimum now. I can't remember the last time I discounted one, and I think that's just because at this point I'm established enough that people realize that those are the fees that they're gonna pay. Occasionally I'll take like a random job, like I've done background acting here, I've helped shoot vlogs for people, I assisted in a studio, like all these random little gigs that I kind of fit in between here and there. Don't ever flake on a gig even if another one pays more. If you said you're gonna be there, show up, because your credibility long-term matters more than the short-term gain of cash. Okay, investments. I have about $10,000 invested in Robinhood in various different stocks. At one point that got to be as low as $2,000 because I didn't know what I was doing, and then I made it all back. I've had the investments in there for about 3 years now. I also have an IRA. It is a Roth IRA for about $4,000 that I started several years ago. And then I have what's called a thrift savings plan, a TSP, through the Air Force. That has about $15,000 in it. That was basically pieces of my paycheck that I volunteered to have taken out and put into an aggressive, like 40-year-long retirement fund. It's basically a 401k. So what does that leave in my bank account? Great question. I have currently, in my checking, I have $7,680.34. In my savings, I have $1,000 exactly, and my credit card bill is $5,421.59. Now those numbers are way different than they normally are. I also purchased a ton of things for this car. I spent about $1,000 on the brakes. I spent another $1,000 on tires. I spent $1,200 on the wheels, which were partially sponsored. They should have been like $2,500. Thank you, 305 Forged. I spent $3,600 on the wrap, and I spent another $800 on strut, towers, window tint, headlight, back rear tent, all this other stuff. So a lot of money has gone into the car lately, and some of those balances are still left over on the credit card. I typically have a balance of $1,500 on my credit card per month. I pay it off in full at the end of each month, so my credit card bill resets at the beginning, and that kind of helps me get an idea of how much money I'm spending. I have never missed a payment in my life. Don't miss credit card payments. Don't use a credit card if you're gonna miss payments. I learned from James STRADMAN that you need to spend money on the things that matter most, like your car, if that's what matters most to you. To me, it does. So that means cutting spending in other places, and for both him and I believe that is clothing. I recently updated my wardrobe. I've been wearing the same outfits since like freshman year of high school, and those outfits all came from either my parents for Christmas and thrift shop. But this is the first time that I actually am wearing like semi-name brand stuff, and even then I buy 100% of this wardrobe off of ASOS, wait for the big sales, and I have basically updated my wardrobe completely. I spent about $1,000 doing that, and I think I'm done with clothes for the next like 8 years. The cost of my camera equipment. The camera I'm shooting on right now is a GH5, a 12 to 60 millimeter lens. The whole setup you can get for like $2,000. I am also using a Rode mic. Sony was very expensive. Lenses, I remember I got 2 lenses for $800 and 1 lens for $200, and then 2 more batteries and some chargers and some polarizers and stuff for a couple $100 more bucks. So all in all, I do remember the entire upgrade. I got it all at once. To switch from Lumix, what I'm on now, to Sony in an effort to improve my photos was about $5,000. To do that, and then the major car upgrade, I had a lot of money sitting in the bank, but as you have heard from my bank account, there's basically nothing left. Because I said, all right, I am tired of working a day job. I'm tired of doing the, regular grind. I'm going to do YouTube in 2020. So I poured all of my money into camera equipment and a car, because those are going to be the keys to where I want to go. Rent in LA is all over the place. Generally speaking, you're going to spend at least $1,100, $1,200 with roommates. If you don't have roommates, you're going to spend closer to $1,500. This is to live in Hollywood, okay? I live in Hollywood because it's centrally located, and a lot of my clients, the models I work with, the cars I shoot is all located here, and I also love living in Hollywood. I wanted to live here my entire life, and I'm willing to pay the price of what it costs. My rent ranges from $1,500 to $1,600 a month, utilities included. The highest it's ever been was $1,631. Holy God, gas is expensive here. I have seen it as high as $6. Right now, it's just below $4. About $100, $110 every week and a day on this car. I have to fill up every 4 days because my commute to work and back uses exactly 1/4 of a tank. So literally every 4 days I go to the gas station and I put about $40 to $50 something in this car. Milk, the cost of milk in LA I think is like $4 a gallon. Chick-fil-A, if you get like the #1 combo just as like a baseline, the Chick-fil-A sandwich and fries I think runs around $7 and some change. I know if I get my go-to, the Chick-fil-A sandwich with an extra side of 8-count nuggets, the total comes out to $10.81. So Chick-fil-A here is expensive. And then groceries, I spend about $250 every 10 days or so because that's about how long a grocery trip will last me. I try to meal prep every day. I pretty much never eat out when I'm at work. I eat at my desk and I use my lunch break to edit photos or sleep because I'm very sleep deprived or I'm behind on edits, one or the other. I don't have time to just sit down and hang out with people, and I definitely don't have time to leave work and go spend money to have someone else make me food. So I meal prep every single day. I also make my own breakfast, and then when I get home, unless I am on a shoot or traveling, I make my own dinner.
This is your public service announcement to remind you to make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Woo! Yes, sir! Also, what up, Hollywood sign?
I have a gas sponsor. So I shot car photos of a guy that owns a gas shop, and I'm friends with the guy that owns a gas station. So I get like 10 cents off per gallon, which goes a long way when you fill up every 4 days. Unless you can eat it, shoot it, burn it, spend it, send it, don't buy it. That's kind of my general rule. I never go to Whole Foods. I have insurance for everything. Health insurance, equipment insurance, insurance on this camera, insurance on this car, the max amount of coverage for everything, and renter's insurance, because I've had to use car insurance before. I've had to use camera insurance before. And let me tell you, that can derail your entire life. If something goes wrong in one of those areas and you don't have insurance, that is not the area for me to save money. That is where I like to spend money. I couldn't imagine losing this car and not getting the return, because my last car, I had a pothole, ironically taking the STRADMAN to a rocket launch that ended up not launching, and I hit a pothole on the base, and eventually the wheel, like later that night, the whole wheel came off right after we dropped him off, and it totaled my car. I had been paying the max amount to get 20% extra, and I was able to pick up this Roush for like $2,000 more than what the insurance gave me on the last Mustang. Invest heavy in your long-term goals. For me, that is YouTube, which equals to my car and my camera, so I don't take any shortcuts in those areas. Also, make sure that you give back, and this is a big one. I give to Mosaic, the church that I am a part of. I like to donate to charities when people reach out to me for them. I gave some money to a friend who was trying to raise money for a funeral earlier this year. I've given money to toy drives that my friend Sebastian has put together. Anytime somebody comes to me to give, I try to at least give a little bit. As you grow, as you do get successful, money only augments what kind of person you are. And if you practice habits of giving at the lowest level, even when I didn't have a job, I was still giving money to Mosaic. When you do have money, you're going to already be comfortable with giving what you should, and it also just makes you more grateful for what you have. And if you can't give money, if you're super broke, give your time, because time is more valuable than money, and if you can give your time back, I think that's a win too. Don't waste a single dollar on friends that don't value you, items that don't serve you, or tasks that won't advance you. I also have said no to going out with friends, and this includes movies or nights out. On Friday for dinner, I think so far in the last couple months, I spend almost every Friday night at least editing photos, catching up. Surf, skate, Netflix, hiking, photo shoots, car rallies are all low cost of admission, and they double as filming and photo ops. So everything across my entire schedule is all funneling into, will this advance me to YouTube 2020 full-time or not? My gym membership is right now $250 per year because I bought like 3 years in advance, but normally it's $550 per year. That's at Gold's Gym in Hollywood. I had to fix my brakes and calipers because I ruined those earlier this year. That cost me about $1,300. And then I've had to replace a transmission on this car. That cost me about $3,000. Make sure you got some money set aside when things break. I've had to replace camera lenses before. Those hurt. Movies, clubs, dinners, social events, those are the things that I tend to cut first. I think that about does it in telling you guys exactly what it costs, or what I'm spending at least, to live in Hollywood. I'm having the time of my life out here, and I know a lot of my friends back home in North Carolina love to make fun of how expensive it is to live in California and how dumb it is to live over here. Well, guess what? Hollywood sign, well, you can't really see it, but Hollywood sign is up there. I'm driving this car out to beaches to go hang out with Lamborghinis. I shot models in a Rolls Royce yesterday in Malibu, and I'm not saying this because like, oh yeah, life is so great. You've heard me. Life is a freaking grind. It's a struggle, but you know what? I love it. I love every second of Los Angeles, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, even if gas was $12 a gallon. I'm trying to be a YouTuber in 2020. I say this at the end of every video so that you guys are reminded. So, if you haven't given back yet, we talked about how giving back is important. Give back to me by giving this a thumbs up. That's all it takes. That'll be your charity work for the day. Help me out.
Took me 30 minutes to film that video, and the parking guy literally is still there just waiting. There's 2 of them just sitting here talking to each other, waiting.
Guys, we drop videos like this every single Thursday. If you want to know more about finances, if you want to know more about Los Angeles or photo shoots or driving the Roush or whatever else is going on, leave a comment. I read and reply to every single one. And we will catch you next week. Peace.